Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the third part of our Five Nights at Freddy's tutorial series. In today's guide, I will walk you through the process of creating the door and door light buttons. In the previous tutorial, we improved the main menu, built the office, and added loading screens. Let us dive into today's lesson and take another step toward building our game. The door buttons can be a bit tricky to grasp, and it is normal to encounter some challenges along the way. However, do not worry, I will guide you through each step with detailed explanations. Remember, you can always pause or rewind the video if you need more time to follow along. As you can see, I have encountered a small glitch in the game. Do not be discouraged, most of you likely won't experience this issue. However, if you do, a quick fix is to make the glitch disappear 2 seconds after clicking the play button. Again, this is probably not something you will face, so if it does not happen, there is no need to worry. Crisis averted. Before we dive into our main task of working on the doors, let us quickly tackle the coding for the continue button. This part is straightforward. All you need to do is add one sprite, is click block, and then trigger the night's broadcast. It is that simple. However, do not forget to hide all other sprites when this happens to avoid the same mistake from earlier. I will demonstrate it on screen for you. Feel free to pause the video if you need extra time to follow along. The continue button is now fully functional. This will provide you with a faster way to load into the game, allowing you to jump straight into gameplay without delay. Now that we have covered that, we can finally start working on the doors. Let us begin with a left door by creating the door frame first. This will set a solid foundation for the rest of the process. Once you have finished with the left door, you can move on to the right door and repeat the same process. This will ensure both doors are consistent and ready to be integrated into the game. Everything is looking great so far. Now, let us move on to creating the actual doors. I will begin by ensuring the door shape matches the door frame, which will help maintain consistency and make the design look polished. Next, I will create a new sprite and incorporate some of the code from our previous sprites, including the door model. Be sure to position your door on the back layer to prevent it from overlapping with the office. This will help maintain a clean and organized layout, ensuring everything functions as intended. Feel free to customize the door to your liking. I will keep mine simple for now to save time and keep the video concise, but you can add your personal touch. Once we have set up our door model, the next step is to animate it closing. Let us go over how to animate the door in detail. First, I recommend keeping a copy of the door model as a backup, just in case something goes wrong. The animation process itself is straightforward. You can use the arrow keys to move the door within its frame. For smoother animation, I suggest giving your door at least 8 to 9 different costumes to create a more fluid transition. let us move on to coding the door. Before we dive into the full implementation, it is a good idea to create a placeholder. The placeholder will allow us to test the animation without fully integrating it into the game just yet. To code this, start by setting the costume to the very first one. Then, use the repeat block to cycle through the animation until it reaches the last costume. For those who may need more clarification, if you have a total of 9 costumes, set the repeat block value to 8. This ensures you are one step behind, as the first costume is already being used in the animation. This method will help keep everything in sync. On the left, you will see the code for closing the door, while the code on the right is for opening the door. As you can see, the reason my door did not close all the way was that it was one costume behind. To fix this, I added one more value to the repeat block. This adjustment should help those of you who are still having trouble with this part of the code. Now, let us repeat the same process for the right door. I chose to duplicate the left door and simply moved the model to the right side. The steps will be identical to those for the left door. Go ahead and recreate the animation for the right door, ensuring everything functions consistently. This next step is crucial. I adjusted the character's viewing range of the office to make room for the door buttons. When making these changes to the mouse X or Y coordinates, be sure to update them consistently across all relevant sprites to maintain proper alignment and functionality. You can see that the door is not aligned with the office, because the mouse X coordinate doesn't match the one used in the office. Let us move on to creating the door buttons. This step can be a bit tricky, so I recommend paying close attention. We will begin by designing the model for the door buttons to lay a solid foundation for the functionality. Now, let us move on to coding the door button. If you notice that the button follows the screen when you move to the opposite corner, do not worry, this is a common issue, and I have a solution to fix it. Let us go through the steps to resolve it. To fix this issue, I will make the button disappear when the cursor moves to a specific location on the screen. For instance, if I move the mouse to a designated spot, the button will automatically hide. This will prevent it from following the screen and improve its behavior. Testing this functionality can be a bit tricky, so make sure to follow along carefully. If you are working on the left door button first, start by using a greater than block and set the value to at least -100 or 150. This will help ensure the button behaves correctly when the cursor reaches the specified area. To test this, I position my cursor at the exact spot where I want the button to disappear, then gradually increase the value until the button hides. You can keep adjusting and testing this until it works just the way you want. This step is all about finding the right sweet spot where the button disappears at the correct location. Let us begin coding the door button. Start by creating an additional costume for when the door is closed. This will allow us to visually indicate the door's state and make the button's functionality clear. Now, let us start coding. Begin by creating a variable called leftDoor. This variable will be central to controlling the door state. We want the game to track whether the door is open or closed, and this variable will help us manage that. The purpose of this code is to ensure that when the button is clicked, it sends a broadcast called leftDoor button. If the leftDoor variable is set to 0, indicating the door is open, the door will close. However, if the leftDoor variable is set to 1, indicating the door is already closed, the door will open. This logic allows the door to toggle between open and closed states based on its current status. Now, let us move on to coding the actual door. We will use the variable we created to control the door's behavior. This is a great example of why variables are so important. They allow us to manage the state of the door. By referencing the value of the variable, we can determine whether the door should be open or closed, ensuring the correct action is triggered based on the variable's value. The left door is now complete, and you can see the smooth transition between opening and closing. Great job to everyone who has made it this far. The right door follows the same process. I will walk you through it, but essentially it is the same as the left door, just mirrored to the opposite side. The code you see on screen is slightly different from the left door button. Instead of using a greater than block, you will want to replace it with a less than block. Set the value to a positive number rather than a negative one. Other than that, the numbers and logic will remain the same. Do not forget to create a broadcast for the right door and a variable for right door button. Make sure to replace any references to the left door with the right door, as we are now working on the right side. This ensures the code functions correctly for the new door. We have completed the doors. Now, let us move on to the final step of the video, creating the lights. The door lights are simpler to implement than the doors, so we can breeze through this part. But please, remember to make sure that the sprites do not show when you press the green flag. As mentioned in the previous guide, the loading screen is where you should initialize and reset all in-game variables. This ensures that every time you start the game, everything is properly reset. Be sure to set all your door and door light button variables back to 0 to maintain consistency and avoid any issues when starting a new game. Now, when we start the game, all variables and code will be reset, allowing us to begin each night with a clean slate. This ensures a smooth and consistent gameplay experience every time you start a new session. Let us begin by creating the door light buttons, starting with the left side. Since we now have a good understanding of how to create the buttons, coding the lights will be much easier than the doors. This will be a smoother process as we apply what we have already learned. As you can see, I am not making many changes to the code for the left light. The key adjustments you need to make are to the variable on broadcast. Simply replace the left door button variable on broadcast with a left light button once to ensure everything functions properly for the light. Next, we will create the hallway that appears when the light is pressed. When you click the button to turn on the light, we want the hallway to show up, but with a flickering effect for added realism. As you can see, the hallway now appears when we press the light button. However, we want to add a flickering effect to the hallway light for a more dynamic feel. Let us move on to implementing that. Now, let us move on to the right side. Just like the door buttons, the lights follow the same process on the opposite side, and it is even easier since we do not need to animate anything. Simply align both the hallway and the light to the right side, and replace any references to the left light. Do not forget to create a new variable, called right light in a broadcast, called right light button to manage the right side light. And with that, we have successfully completed our door and door light buttons. Take a moment to go back to your project and appreciate all the progress you have made. I apologize for the wait on this guide. It took me a bit longer to put together, but do not worry, the next guide will be shorter and simpler. I would love to hear how your new doors and lights turned out, so feel free to share in the comments. Thank you all for the continued support of the channel. It has been growing rapidly, and I could not have done it without you. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.